Want to welcome the board members, all staff present, and any guests who may have joined us. This is the annual meeting of DASNY, and we have a lot to cover today. I am, though, going to exercise a little personal privilege. I had an extraordinary experience yesterday here at DASNY, in fact, in this room. Every year since I joined DASNY, there has been an annual celebration of the people who have retired and the people who have celebrated service anniversaries in the preceding year. And COVID stopped all that. It ground to a halt. And as a direct result of that, we had yesterday the first such celebration in 3 years. It was an extraordinary event because, as you can imagine, a lot of people retired or had service anniversaries in that 3-year period. In fact, about 250 of them. Thousands of years of service gathered in this room and in the boardroom in Albany. Thousands of years of service to this firm. There were 70 people, about 70, present in Albany, and about 20 people present in this room. Lots of great food in both places, and people celebrated. I think being back together, just being able to spend the time. My assistant, this is the point of personal privilege, Lori Hewell, who is in Albany and has been in Albany for 20 years, celebrated her 20th during that period of time. She also works for other people. I don't merit of a full-time assistant, but it was very nice. We have a lot to cover today. It's our annual meeting. It is the first board meeting and the annual meeting of the Social Equity Subsidiary. It is the annual meeting of the Atlantic subsidiary, and it is the annual meeting of the North General Hospital subsidiary. Having said all of that, we should probably start. Sarah, if you will read the roll so we know who's with us.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. We have almost a full house for the board today. We have our chair, Al Carney, vice chair, Jerry Romsky, Beryl Snyder, our secretary, and also in the New York City office, we have Wellington Chen and Lisa Gomez. In the Buffalo office, Janice McKinney is with us. And here in Albany, we have Ken Evans, Joan Sullivan, and Adrian Swizerski. We also have several members of senior staff joining with us both in person and remotely, including our president, Ruben McDaniel, Paul Koopman, Nadine Fontaine, Kim Ellis, Portia Lee, Steve Currow, Ricardo Salomon, Craig Schreibogel, Steve Kozier, Alex Sardine, Karen Ellinger, and others who have joined us remotely. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will turn it back to you.
Sarah, thank you. Then we'll begin the agenda for the meeting. The first agenda item is the election of officers. I believe that material is behind tab 1, and there is a resolution that we have to decide to approve. We've had a chance to take a look at it. Are there any questions about the roster? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please, to approve it?
Joan, I make the motion.
Thanks, Joan. Wellington, thank you for the second. Yes, okay. Sorry, I lost my place. I got the motion and I got the second, and I will ask for the vote. All in favor of approving the resolution, please indicate with yes or aye. Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Then the motion passed unanimously. The officers are elected. We have behind tab 2 the minutes of the March 1st board meeting. You've all had a chance to take a look at those minutes. Are there any questions? Changes proposed? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes? Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Wellington. All in favor, please indicate with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? The third agenda item is the Finance Committee report. Mr. Rumsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We met yesterday. I think we're in Buffalo and Albany and New York. We adopted the meeting minutes from the March 1st meeting of the Finance Committee. And then we advanced and discussed the Columbia financing, which we recommend be adopted today. Then we discussed the Southern Tier BOCES program. Again, after some discussion, we all unanimously agreed to recommend that offering also be adopted at today's full board meeting. That concludes my report, unless anyone has any questions. And as mentioned yesterday, if anyone has any questions prior to the board meetings or the Finance Committee meetings, I'm certainly available. Everyone on the Finance Committee is available to discuss if there's any issues beforehand that you'd like to discuss.
Thank you, Jerry.
Unless anyone has any questions or comments, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Hearing no questions, we will move on to the fourth agenda item, which is the resolution to proceed on the Columbia University proposed transaction. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to see everyone this morning. Welcome to the board meeting. Behind tab 4 is a transaction summary for one of our great clients, Columbia University. This transaction was presented by Alex, just got promoted recently. Congratulations, Sir Dean of DASNY. Alex.
Good morning, everyone. The board has been asked to authorize a resolution to proceed with the financing of one or more series of tax-exempt and/or taxable, fixed and/or variable rate bonds with a term not to exceed 35 years and an amount not to exceed $325 million on behalf of Columbia University. The proposed issuance includes approximately $200 million of new money and $125 million for refinancing purposes. The new money proceeds are expected to be used to finance or reimburse the university for costs associated with various construction and renovation projects at the Morningside Heights Medical Center and Manhattanville campuses. Projects include a new 34-story building to house graduate students and faculty members on the southwest corner of 125th Street and Broadway in Manhattan. And Mr. Vice Chair, I just wanted to I'm told there was some ambiguity with my response to your question yesterday in Finance Committee, and I wanted to be clear that this is new construction on the 25th Street site in Manhattan. The new facility, which is being currently under construction, will be comprised of approximately 177,000 square feet and include 142 apartments and 5,000 square feet of retail space on the ground level. Other projects to be financed may include various renovation, deferred maintenance, and replacement projects located at various facilities across the Columbia system. Bonds will also be used to refinance taxable commercial paper issued by Columbia, the proceeds of which were used to redeem the university's Series 2011A bonds issued by DASNY. The university is currently rated AAA by Moody's and Standard & Poor's. Accordingly, Columbia qualifies for an unsecured borrowing under DASNY's financing guidelines for independent institutions. Just a little background on Columbia. Columbia University attracts highly qualified students and is among the most selective universities in the country. Full-time equivalent enrollment totaled approximately 32,000 for fall 2022, an increase of 9.4% over 5 years and a 5-year high for the university. Of the over 6,000 applicants for fall 2022, just 2,255 students were accepted, indicating an acceptance rate of 3.7%. For fiscal year 2022, Columbia reported operating revenues of $6 billion and an operating surplus of $551 million. Following 2 years of operations that were negatively impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, the adjusted operating margin of 10% for fiscal year 2022 was a 5-year high for the university. The university's overall revenue mix is diverse, making it less vulnerable to fluctuations from a single revenue source. For fiscal year 2022, 24% of the university's operating revenues came from net tuitions and fees. The university's reported total net assets of $18.4 billion at fiscal year end 2022. Total net assets have increased by $2.6 billion or 16.7% since fiscal year 2018 as a result of positive operating results, fundraising, and investment appreciation. Mr. Chairman.
Alex, thank you very much. Are there questions for Alex, comments on Alex's presentation? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please, to approve the transaction?
Make that motion.
Thank you, Jerry. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, thank you, Beryl. All in favor, please indicate with aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved, the transaction is approved, and it's approved unanimously. We'll move on to,
Do they know when that building will be done on 125th?
that's a question either for Alex.
No, it's irrelevant to the golf ring. I'm just curious.
I think the expectation is in 2024. It's well underway.
It's still underway.
Is it? Wow. Thanks, Alex. We'll move on to tab 5.
Decide to finance.
It is, I'm sorry, Mr. President, this is for you, the Greater Southern Tier BOCES.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Behind tab 5, you will find a transaction summary for the Greater Southern Tier BOCES project, and Steve Kozer of DASNY will be presenting. Steve?
Thank you and good morning. Staff is requesting the board to adopt a resolution to proceed for bond financing in an amount not to exceed $20 million on behalf of Greater Southern Tier BOCES. The State Board of Cooperative Educational Services, the BOCES program, was established in 1948 by legislation to enable school districts to combine resources that otherwise to provide services that would otherwise be uneconomical, inefficient, or unavailable. BOCES offers a wide range of services and programs that school districts can choose to participate in, including special education, career technical education, staff development, and technology support. Today, there are 37 BOCES in the state serving approximately 700 school districts. Since 2001, DASNY has issued approximately $458.1 million of bonds through 26 bond series on behalf of 10 separate BOCES borrowers. As of December 31st, 2022, $110.4 million was outstanding on behalf of 9 separate BOCES borrowers. The proposed issuance will be the first DASNY bond issue on behalf of the Greater Southern Tier BOCES. Greater Southern Tier BOCES' full legal name is the Greater Southern Tier Board of Education, the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, Sole Supervisory District, Schuyler, Steuben, Chemung, Tioga, and Allegheny Counties, New York.
That's worth an applause.
You promised to send, you promised to send it to me, Steve. You promised to send that to me.
Thank you. So we're all happy, especially me today, that they operate under the Greater Southern BOCES name. The BOCES provide shared services to 21 component school districts in the southern tier of New York that cover over 2,100 square miles and serve approximately 30,000 students. The BOCES administrative offices are in the village of Painted Post, and it has 3 campuses: the Bush campus in Elmira, the Wildwood campus in Hornell, and the Cooper's campus in Painted Post. On March 22nd, 2022, the voters approved the $20 million in financing for capital projects, including the improvement and replacement of natural gas, electric, water, and network fiber lines at each of the 3 BOCES campuses. And the Wildwood and Cooper's campuses will also replace sewer lines and construct gymnasium and auditorium additions. BOCES are funded by payments made to them by the component school districts based on their allocable share of program services and administrative and facilities expenses. The component school districts pay for these expenses through real property tax levies. The component school district boards vote on the BOCES administrative budget each spring. However, the portion of the budget allocated to the payments to DASNY is not subject to such a vote. In addition, the state has made appropriations to the BOCES program each year since 1949 to partially offset BOCES expenses. The state appropriations to BOCES are available to be applied to pay debt service. The state comptroller is required by law to deduct amounts due and payable to pay the DASNY rentals, which include the debt service, from any state aid that becomes due to the BOCES and pay it upon the direction of DASNY. The bonds will be secured by annual rental payments to be made pursuant to a lease agreement with the BOCES. A direct intercept through the state comptroller of any state aid due to the Greater Southern Tier BOCES for rental payments on the DASNY lease agreement. A pledge of public funds apportioned by the state due to the BOCES in an amount sufficient to pay such rental payments. And a 1/2 year debt service reserve fund or reserve fund facility. The bonds are expected to be rated AA2 by Moody's, and bond insurance may be considered depending on its economic efficiency. Mr. Chairman.
Steve, thank you. Are there any questions for Steve? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please, to approve the transaction?
Oh,
Thank you.
I don't know. I'll second Wellington.
Lisa, thank you for the motion. Was there a second?
Jerry,
Second, yes, I thought I got it. Mr. Ron got it right.
Jerry, you know, I'm marking all this down.
All in favor, please indicate with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved, the resolution is approved, transaction is approved unanimously. The next agenda item is the audit committee report. Chairwoman Sullivan will present it.
Thank you. The audit committee met this morning and we approved the prior meeting, which was on the minutes of the prior meeting, which was on November 8th. The audit committee charter and the internal audit department charter were also reviewed. Karen Ellinger, she delivered a report on internal controls, and Jenna Flinton updated the committee on the status of the fiscal year 23 audit plan and presented the internal audit plan for the upcoming year, which the committee approved. Thank you.
Joan, thank you very much. That was a great meeting this morning. And it was efficient, Joan. It was very efficient. Thank you for that. Are there any questions for Joan? I think we were all present for the meeting itself. I'd be surprised if there are any questions. And there is nothing that this board has to approve if I understand it right.
That's right.
Okay, then thank you very much, Joan. The 7th agenda item is the report of the Corporate Governance Committee. Chairwoman Snyder.
Thank you. Give me a minute to.
Sure.
For some reason, always having a hard time getting to that portion of this board book.
Well,
Looks like it's around page 56 or 7.
All right, anyway, 6 or 7. Thank you, Lisa. Here we go, got it here. Thank you. Anyway, hello, everyone. Yesterday afternoon, the Corporate Governance Committee for DASNY met. And we approved the minutes to the January 10th meeting. The governance committee also met and decided to recommend an amendment to the performance metrics to reflect the enactment of Executive Order number 224 and set forth the data that must be reported regarding energy efficiency and renewable energy work for completion of construction projects. Clean and black line copies of the metrics are included in the board materials, and Mr. Koopman is available to answer any questions. Let me turn it back to the chair to call for a resolution to amend the mission statement.
before I do that, let's find out whether the members have any questions about you've had a chance to look at it, the proposed amendments.
And Paul is available to answer any questions or mention that as well, Mr. Chair. He's here in Albany.
Hearing none, then I think we're prepared to move it. May I have a motion, please, to approve the amendment?
So moved.
Thank you, Janice. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joan. All in favor, please indicate with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Then the motion carries, the amendment is approved, and all of that is approved unanimously. Beryl?
The governance committee also, as required, reviewed the DASNY bylaws. That neither the staff nor the governance committee is recommending any changes to the DASNY bylaws at this time. The full board is required to review the bylaws annually and ask questions or make comments. You've all had more than an opportunity to do that. And I assume everyone has reviewed it. So Chairman, the ball's in your court.
Thank you, ma'am. This is an annual review requirement. There is no resolution. There's nothing that we have to pass on. If there are no questions, then we can move on to the next agenda item.
Al, I hesitate, I'm sorry, Beryl, I hesitate doing this, and I don't know if we need to make an amendment. But during our break between the audit committee and this meeting, we talked a little bit about our meetings and having it at 3 different locations. And I'm wondering how the board feels, even if we did an annual meeting in one location. I don't know, we need to change the bylaws for that, but something we may want to think about to try to get the board back together as one at least once a year. I'm just throwing that out.
It's a great suggestion, and it'll be great if we can do it. We'll have to leave to the lawyers the question whether or not there needs to be an amendment in effect to the amendment. But assuming that there does not have to be, and I don't know that we'll have to have one of those, I think we can certainly make the decision in any meeting where we choose to do it. If we want to do it all in Albany or do it all in New York, I think that's doable.
Or we could do it all in Buffalo. How about that?
Where is that again? Buffalo? I'm sorry, Janice. But Joan, it's a great suggestion. Thank you for making it, and thank you for thinking out loud about trying to put the board together in one place. These meetings that are partially virtual, well, there's no water cooler conversation. And so thank you very much, Joan.
Or rather there is, but among the 2 different groups in Buffalo, unfortunately, this is it, but I guess the real question is whether an actual amendment to the bylaws would be necessary and or appropriate under those circumstances. But whether it's formal or informal, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know whether an amendment's necessary. I doubt it.
Yeah,
But I would think not, unless we want to require that.
yeah, that, I mean,
It is mandated, the bylaws could mandate it, but as you say, Mr. Chair, it certainly could be requested at any time.
At any
Yeah.
time. All
It's going
right.
to be required and mandated.
With a requirement.
No, the
of change.
form is
Sarah,
going
we
to
can
get-
all agree on a date.
Right.
On one date. We can
I
agree
think
on
Upper
one
West
date.
Side. No. That's great. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that suggestion. Also, as part of our requirement as a committee and as a board, following documents were reviewed by the governance committee and no changes are recommended and no board action required. The items reviewed were the policy regarding payment of compensation and reimbursement to and time and attendance of senior management, the whistleblower policy, and the code of ethical conduct. The governance committee and several other members of the board also met in executive session and reviewed the results of the confidential board self-evaluation, which is something the board does every year. And we had a lot of members here that were a lot of board members who were not members of the governance committee. And it was a very useful and informative conversation. And I urge all people to feel free to come next year because I think it was very valuable. I wouldn't require it, of course, but I would urge everyone to try to do that as it was very useful. Anyway, thank you. And back to you, Chair,
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair.
Brother Chair. Let me reiterate what Beryl just said with regard to the performance evaluation. It was a great conversation, great discussion. A couple of suggestions came out of it, but it was a closed session. so that if there are board members who are curious about, interested in the sort of the nits and lights of that conversation, don't hesitate to call any member of the governance committee. Unless you would rather.
Right, no, please. In fact, I encourage anyone to always call if there are any questions that I can help you with. I'm new to this position as well, so I don't really know if I can help anyone, really. But I'll try, and if not, I'll find the right person to ask the question to, which is what I urge all of you to do anyway, because questions arise, and I think the staff is more than willing to answer them. So I urge everyone to do that. And in fact, I hate to take the opposite approach of Joan, but if there are some non-members of the governance committee that aren't here for a quorum, but want maybe next year to just participate in the discussion on the self-evaluation, there might be a way that they can join remotely, because there are a lot of meetings and a lot of places to go, and a lot of people have other obligations like work. So I think if even informally participating in the evaluation would be useful.
It's a great suggestion. Let's see what happens. Thanks, Beryl.
Maybe consider next year doing it right before the annual meeting when you know we're all gonna.
Right, that would be
Yeah.
be possible. Also, not very good idea.
Any questions or comments for Beryl? Hearing none, we're at tab 8 and the president's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got quite a few things to go over today, so I'll try to be efficient, but not too short. First, I want to announce that we have decided to promote Sarah Richards to Chief of Staff. Sarah's been with DASNY for 27 years. You all know her primarily through her work on the board and governance issues, which she handles so adeptly, but she also has been overseeing grants administration for quite some time. She helped us with the Office of Environmental Affairs for a while, started DASNY in '96 in the General Counsel's office, has a law degree, and just brings a wealth of experience, both inside DASNY experience as well as her own personal experiences that will be really helpful to us as senior management in overseeing the organization. And so we're just very pleased to have Sarah move up to Chief of Staff. Look forward to working with her more closely than we already do. She started this role a couple of weeks ago and feels like she just settled right in and is right on board. So Sarah, congratulations to you. And I appreciate all the great work you have done for DASNY in the past, and look forward to working with you very closely here over the next few years.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Congratulations, Sarah. Well deserved. Congratulations, Sarah. Very well deserved.
Yeah,
Thank
very,
you.
very well deserved. I guess she's going to be fantastic in that role. She will continue to oversee governance, so board members don't get nervous. I have not taken her from you. She's still oversee this activity. Secondly, wanted to discuss the Office of Cannabis Management. We did several activities over the past month or so related to our work, the Social Equity Funding Corporation. We opened 2 dispensaries, one in Queens, which is the first female-owned adult use dispensary in the state of New York, and one in Ithaca. These dispensaries, as you will recall, are for conditional adult use retail dispensary licensees. These licensees are a subset of those who have been over-policed by the war on drugs. They applied for licenses through the OCM, did a great job of getting their applications in. And I can tell you that both of the openings, both Queens and Ithaca, were wonderfully received. It was great to see the entrepreneurs in their new spaces and really to see the fruits of our labor coming together. As we move forward, we'll continue to look for real estate opportunities, continue to build out facilities, and we'll continue to update the board as we execute on those facilities. But a great month for the Office of Cannabis Management. We should have another facility or 2 opening in April. And as we move into the summer, quite a few more facilities coming online. So very excited about that.
Ruben, it's Al. Just curious, was there press coverage of the openings of the 2?
There was a lot in Jamaica, Al. I know, Google. I saw a lot of it, Ruben, and congratulations
I
on
did.
that.
That's why I
It was
asked.
nice.
Yeah, no, we had wonderful press coverage at both of them. On the Ithaca, The mayor and several other local officials came to the opening along with press. Had a great, wonderful opening there. And then in Jamaica, the president of the Queensborough came and gave some great words as well as press. And again, one of the things that's been very heartwarming for me personally is meeting the entrepreneurs that, but for this program, would not be able to be active in this business. The Ithaca is a husband, wife, son team, just delightful family. And then in Queens, it is a young lady and several other of her family members who joined together as a group to come together. See that family come together was wonderful. So we had great events, wonderful openings, and we look forward to more of those to come. Moving on from there, in May, on May the 3rd, we're going to have a virtual event, and you'll get an invitation to it. If you have not got it already, I saw it come over my desk today for student housing trends. We, as you know, are one of the premier builders of student housing in the state of New York, particularly the SUNY campuses. And we really have started talking about various items internally around affordability, preferences, sustainability in housing, and how to really promote retention through the housing program. And so we thought it was time to do a virtual roundtable to discuss both with DASNY and some of our partners, just the latest trends in campus housing, how we will remain relevant in those trends, and also get information from other industry experts. So again, you'll get an invitation for that. It'll be on May the 3rd, and would certainly love to have any of you participate in that as well. If you're thinking about in May your health going into the summertime, we have two great events for you. On May 18th in Albany, there is a 5K walk that you can participate in. DASNY will sponsor you. I'll have Lori send out your information, but we'll try to get as many DASNY employees as possible to have kind of a team building and health building as we go into the summer event. And then on May 31st, the New York City office will be participating in the annual JP Morgan Walk, which happens in Central Park each year. Again, team building and activity and just some fun outside. So we'll send you information on those two events, but if you want to come walk with us at DASNY, I have committed to the May 31st event, and I'll probably be sucked into the May 18th event. So look forward to walking, jogging, and for Steve Curl running in that. We did celebrate in March Women's History Month. I hosted a panel of DASNY female professionals. We did it live and had a wonderful conversation about just work-life balance, trends that the ladies saw over the years in their professional employment and development. We had kind of a spectrum of senior people as well as some junior folks to talk about just specific challenges, and then just to celebrate the activity of females in the industry, but particularly at DASNY. As we just promoted Sarah Richards to Chief of Staff. DASNY has a lot of senior females who are great contributors to our organization, and we just love celebrating that month with them. April is Diversity Month. Our Office of Diversity Inclusion has put together a great programming, and so we're really happy to be part of that event. We'll have some activities. We posted some things online about the importance of diversity. There's a video that has been developed that will be released here shortly. We're just talking about the fact that diversity really does enhance the work environment, both professionally and personally. And just so glad to have our diversity inclusion office and the leaders of that. So we're really looking forward to that. Al mentioned earlier, Mr. Chairman, the celebration of retirees and milestone employees yesterday. Again, great events in Buffalo, Albany, and New York City. In addition to celebrating the retirees, I think it also sends a message to our younger employees that we value the work they have. We see them as family members. We see our employees and recognize their accomplishments. And so it was really great to see some great milestone employees. Obviously, we, as Al mentioned, I had not had this event in the past couple of years. So again, anytime we can get folks together is a great time, but just wonderful to salute all of the great employees at DASNY. And so I appreciate and enjoy the working relationship with as many of those of you that I met in person, as well as those that I've not. Just do a great job at DASNY day in and day out. Finally, an item that is not on your list, but one that I'm extremely excited about announcing today. We have launched a new initiative. It is PKP to the fourth. And I will give you what that acronym is, PKP to the fourth. Over the past probably 7 to 10 years, we have really been exploring P3, public-private partnerships, and how that intersection in the construction industry particularly, but also in finance, is one that DASNY is a large construction entity and a major issuer of public debt really wants to be a leader in. And so I wanted to try to institutionalize our knowledge base for P3s at DASNY. So we're going to take $250,000 out of our Evolution Fund, which is designed for our employee promotion and training. And $50,000 per year over the next 5 years will be dedicated to a program that will really have 3 components. One component will be some type of an intern/fellowship program with some of the leading universities around the state in the public-private partnership. The second will be the opportunity for employees who are interested in P3 to have sponsored various certifications in this industry. There are several different organizations that have anywhere from a weekend course to a 6-week virtual course, really studying the latest trends in P3 that ends in a certification. Both our construction and finance folks will have opportunities for that track. And then finally, there are several major conferences around the country around P3, and we'll sponsor several employees every year to go to these conferences and bring back those learnings to DASNY. So this is a way to begin to institutionalize the informal work that's been done on P3, begin to solidify DASNY being a leader in this work and having some funding behind it so that our employees can really be best in class. So why do we name it PKP P to the fourth? The leader who's really helped us with this is our vice president. So this is the Paul Koopman Public-Private Partnership Program at DASNY, named after Mr. Koopman. I'm going to ask him to be the leader in organizing how we implement this program and solidify it. But again, Paul, I just want to say, your work on this has been both inspirational and interesting to me. And those are important. And I just want to recognize your work. So your name will live on with this program. So every time somebody gets an award or a conference attendee or whatever, it will be part of the PKP to the fourth program. And really looking forward to this. And so it's very excited about this, this important program for the future of DASNY.
Very nice. Thank you. Congratulations, Paul.
And with that, that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Ruben, thank you very much. Are there any questions for Ruben on what's in his report or what might be in your respective heads? Hearing none, then, Ruben, again, thank you. We're going to move on to Ms. Ellis and the finance report behind tab 9.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Included in your materials is a standing monthly financial report, which details activity through February. We've closed 9 private debt issuances for the fiscal year, generating total fees of $1.2 million. Total operating expenses through February continue to be under projection by $4.6 million, primarily attributable to personnel costs due to retirements and slower than anticipated recruitments. For our year-end financial statement update, we just concluded the fiscal year and staff has begun preparing our financial statement audit. We will be implementing 3 new pronouncements this year: GASB 91 conduit debt, which will remove all conduit debt from the front of our financial statements, and GASB's 87 and 96, which relate to accounting for leases and IT service contracts. KPMG continues to perform their interim test work as staff book entries and perform reconciliations related to the March activity. That concludes my report.
Kimberly, thank you very much. Are there questions for her on her report? Or any other questions for her? None? Hearing none, then we will move on. And Kim, thank you. We'll move on to tab 10, the public finance report. Portia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Behind tab 10 are the standard public finance reports. Since the last board meeting, we closed the St. John's University forward private placement. Brief market update, total year-to-date new issue supply for 2023 is approximately $75.5 billion, down about 35.6% from last year's comparable volume. This week's supply is expected to be in line with recent averages at about 6.3 billion. Tax exempt bond yields were mostly unchanged on Tuesday, with the 10-year AAA MMD remaining at 2.10% and the 30-year AAA MMD remaining at 3.18%. US government bond yields were slightly higher, with the 10-year Treasury yield increasing by 2 basis points to 3.43% and the 30-year remaining at 3.62%. Municipal bond funds reported outflows for the week ending April 5th after prior week outflows. Since the March 1st board meeting, the 1-year MMD rate has decreased by 67 basis points. The 10-year has decreased by 49 basis points, and the 30-year has decreased by 38 basis points. During that same time period, the 10-year Treasury yield has decreased by 49 basis points, and the 30-year Treasury yield decreased by 31 basis points. At the last board meeting, we talked about making the TUP approval process more consistent with the bond approval process. We will bring that memo and that resolution to the board next month. I also draw the members' attention to the quarterly financial advisor report, which is included with the standard materials. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Portia, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, we will move to tab 11 and the construction report. Steve.
Thank you. Behind tab 11 are the standard construction division reports. Just a couple of statistics from last month. We added 5 new projects, 3 at CUNY, Bronx, Hunter, and Queens colleges, 1 at OPWDD, Finger Lakes DDSO, and 1 for the Office of Children and Family Services. That's the Westchester Raise the Age project. That's a $125 million project. In total, about $170 million worth of new project opportunities for DASNY. We also completed 4 projects, all within the CUNY system. 1 at Bronx Community College, the Gould Memorial Library Copper Dome. If you ever get over there, it's a gem. Queens College, a new chiller plant, CCNY, Steinman and Shepherd Hall elevators. And at Queens College, the new Louis Armstrong Museum, which is also something worth visiting for sure. Total expenditures for the period ending February 2021 were $447 million. For the same period in February 2022 was $447 million. 2023 was $563 million. So a net gain year over year of about $116 million in construction activity. I received a lot of positive reinforcement on the cover project. So I think I'll skip that in the interest of time. I will jump on to a few programs and project updates though. In SUNY, right up the street from us here is the FIT $200 million new build. It continues to progress toward a fall 2023 substantial completion date, which SUNY hopes to use for the spring semester of 2024. The building is nearing enclosure at this point. The MEP trades and finished trades are active from the basement up through the 10th floor. We've been meeting with the general contractor, given recent schedule updates that have moved the substantial completion date from September to November of this year, working to pull that back in. And actually tomorrow, SUNY's Chancellor King will tour the project with our staff. SUNY New Paltz, the Owaston Hall project. It's Forte. There was 2 contracts. EE Crews did the foundations, Forte. SUNY New Paltz, Owaston Hall. This renovation and 4th floor addition has jumped from roughly 30 days behind schedule to 60 days behind schedule, given a design error dealing with fire life safety separation between the added 4th floor and the mechanical penthouse. DASNY's Upstate Design and Construction groups have met with the general contractor over the last week, discussing our concerns for student occupancy in the fall of 2023. The contractor has implemented a campaign of extended work hours and weekends to recover some of the lost time. We're trying to pull the substantial completion date back from September to August. There are 22 SUNY summer projects that will begin physical starts about a month from now in mid-May. They total $36 million. And Alfred McKenzie Hall, phase 3 and 3B and C work continues to advance the project. We have replaced the general contractor out there. The surety's replacement contractor is also struggling. We're trying to get part of phase B open in time for this fall and phase C open for the spring. I'll be visiting the project in 2 weeks. On the CUNY side, the Lehman School of Nursing, this is the $98 million new build, is headed towards substantial completion this summer. I mentioned Louis Armstrong Museum. We completed that and it is now open as of about a month ago. And the Queensborough Community College Performing Arts Center is also headed towards substantial completion. We're about a month out from that. Just quickly on OMH, we had a meeting with the Office of Mental Health this past Monday. There's a lot going on there, including a new 500 space garage at the Capitol District Psych Center up in Albany. We're working also on the $300 million Mid-Hudson Forensic Psych Center new build. I'm working on a PLA for that as well. And working also on a project in Brooklyn where we have terminated the contractor and working with the replacement contractor, getting a takeover agreement in place for that. Lastly, the DOH Life Sciences project. Our design build team continues to work on this program with the consolidation of the 5 Albany-based decentralized labs. We are expecting a deliverable from the design build team in May. That is the reprogramming. And we're working internally now on the contract for the design build team for the full project. On the recruitment side, we're up to over 30 open positions that we're recruiting for. We're also recruiting for 10 summer interns for project locations across the state. I think I'll end that.
All right, there are questions for Steve?
A lot on your plate.
I ask every meeting about recruitment. I know how difficult it is, and I know why. But any light at the end of that tunnel?
I'm an optimistic guy, but I'm getting run over by the train.
Okay, all right,
There is no way.
all right.
We are thinking about different ways to do things.
Yeah.
Using outside consultants for some of the things that we do internally, like design review, which brings its own set of problems, but it's just a very, very
Important to you though, right? The design, internal design review is.
well, when we permit a project, we have no choice, right? We have to do that review. In New York City, DOB permits the projects. We're starting to wonder how much design review should we be doing? Right?
You're not the only ones. HPD is doing the same. You know, it's similar. It's, well, it's a duplicative, components of it tend to be duplicative and time consuming and, you know, if you had, in a perfect world, you have all the time in the world to do that. And, you know, if you don't have the staff, it's definitely a trend. And like how many levels of review on design or green or whatever do you need?
You hear the counter argument that we'll pay the price in construction, of course, with plenty of change orders, but
Sometimes you might.
Right.
it's
But
interesting.
from what you just said, that happens anyway, right? I mean, it's not a bulletproof process.
No. Still waiting for that first project where we have no change orders.
That would be like ever seeing a set of 100% CDs. I'm convinced they don't exist in the eyes of the contractors.
Any other questions or comments for Steve?
How's your new, didn't we buy like a new like a Procore system?
Okay, so I cut that off, but I'll just update you quickly. Yeah, the phase 1 implementation of PM Web is approaching completion. Final touches on payments, contractor and consultant payments and change order administration, but we're very close. I mean, we're talking about the end of this month. There's over 500 projects in the system today, so it's up and running. We're just cleaning it up a little bit. We are beginning to look ahead to phase 2, which will bring in Bluebeam, which is integrated with PM Web, as well as a rewrite of our design review system internally. So a lot of fun there. Our IS group has led the charge.
And they like it.
They like it. They're warmed up to it. You know, they've done a great job implementing this system because it's not easy.
If it's like Procore, it will revolutionize like the way you handle your lien waivers and budgeting,
RFI, yeah, they're
forecasting,
really-
RFI, yeah.
There's a lot of nice electronic, transactional processing that comes along with this system. So we're already into electronic payments, electronic change orders, which we didn't have with our last system. So, heading in the right direction.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Certainly while you're crunched for people, it's great to have technology, take some of that off your shoulders.
All right, Steve, thank you.
You're welcome.
Behind tab 12, the general counsel's report. Nadine?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I had intended on reporting on the status of the budget, but unfortunately the budget is still continuing. There has been on some of our proposals, but again, I'm not at liberty to discuss at what
Sure.
point our proposals currently stand. But we are continuing negotiations and supporting, the executive and division of budget with negotiations. The council office staff has been supportive in working with all the departments in various matters. So we continue to provide legal support in all aspects of everything that was reported to the board today. In light of the influx of work in connection with the cannabis program, we are looking to increase our staffing. We do have a job posting for a real estate associate as well. So, we are looking to expand the department and that's hopefully we'll get a little more help in the work that we're doing, but we
In Albany or in New York, the new position?
either. The preference would be Albany, but if depending upon, it's a real estate or transactional attorney that we're looking for. So depending upon the response that we get, it would make a determination as to whether it will be New York, a person will be New York based or Albany based.
Well, good luck. Good luck. And thank you. Our next meeting is scheduled for the 10th of May. The subsidiary meetings will begin right after we adjourn this meeting. And the clock's running, so I'll get
Ready to go now.
Yeah, I'll get started. Thanks to staff. May I have a motion, please, to adjourn the meeting? Thank you, Wellington. Is there a second?
Second.
Beryl, thank you. All in favor, please indicate with aye. Aye. As I'm sure there are none opposed and nobody has abstained, then the motion to adjourn carries and we are adjourned.